Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Coin Lady channel. In this current chamber, I have two tales to tell you. Hold up in the heat. An example from today's Daily Hodl: Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong predicts a multi-year legal struggle with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Now, if they really are going to fight back as hard as Ripple has, and they're speaking as though they have an actual backbone, so they may do it if they actually have, they are at the beginning of an enormously long legal road, which will not be a lot of fun. Even though it's terrible that XRP has been targeted by the SEC for years now, I'm thankful that this lawsuit was initially filed against Ripple and is now having a bad effect on XRP holders everywhere. The good news is that we are towards the conclusion of this, barring the extremely improbable event of this being appealed all the way to the Supreme Court. But I don't think that's very likely. My reasons for discussing this matter on the channel have been outlined by Attorney Hogan. It's not impossible. It's just not likely, in my opinion. Most likely, we'll hear some fantastic news in the not-too-distant future. That's what I think, at least. In light of this, I remain optimistic despite the fact that Ripple may suffer a technical defeat with respect to the clarity of XRP secondary market transactions. It's relieving to know that this is the final chapter. It is intriguing to see Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong face facts and admit that he has some tough years ahead of him. There was also this comment about XRP that sparked disagreement from the chair of the SEC's Crypto Basic Topics Committee. Yeah, I have something to tell you about the Gensler hearing where he was just being questioned. In the words of Congress members, representatives, fear began to grip him. Not sure how many people really watched the video. You have either seen something for yourself or heard it mentioned by reliable sources. I forgot to mention that Gary Gensler was being questioned so severely the other day that he was visibly shaking. And it was a delight to witness. It was very obvious that he felt awkward. The high point of the day was right there. But because of this, while he was under pressure, and this is what I'm going to break down, it's possible that he let slip that, and it's speculation. There may still be ongoing settlement talks based on what he said, which I will share with you in a moment. In light of that, I can't decide if I believe it or not. However, there is some debate between community members, such as XRP supporter and lawyer Bill Morgan. But there is something I need to clarify before we go any further. I have zero experience in either the law or finance. You shouldn't buy or sell anything based on what I say or write because I am not a legal or financial advisor. Just a hobbyist here that occasionally posts films to YouTube on various crypto-related topics. Okay, then. In this first of two pieces, Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong says the company is ready to go to court with the SEC if necessary. In a Wells notice sent to Coinbase last month, the regulator indicated that it was considering taking enforcement action against the exchange for potential violations of U.S. securities laws. Moreover, I still believe what I said at the time the news broke. Wells' notification is a matter of procedure, as I'm sure you already know. You must succeed admirably. However, in my opinion, the formal vote on whether or not to sue Coinbase is really a formality. The man in charge is named Gary Gensler. He has the support of the people. A lawsuit against Coinbase is imminent. It's only a question of time. Any morning now, the news will be out, and I'll be relieved to finally be done with this. I intend to read the entire thing. I have no idea what that will look like at this point. This one is bound to be a toughie. There will likely be some shocking revelations. And I'm curious if, like the Bittrex exchange, they'll name certain coins. Who can say? They can name more coins listed on Coinbase and argue that those two are securities. Things like that are also likely to be included. That's great news since it means we'll finally find out which of our other coins Gary Gensler is trying to destroy, thereby reducing our total wealth. My friends and I can't wait to discover out Gary Gensler's plan to destroy my financial stability. In any case, the ceasefire holds. According to a recent interview with CNBC, Armstrong maintains that Coinbase was not made aware of the problem before the notification was issued. Quote, "We held 30 meetings with them over the past year and received zero useful suggestions for improvement. Then I got this letter from Wells. So, to sum up, it's a terrible shame," end quote. What happened to him is awful, but I believe him at his word that this is what transpired. 30 gatherings. Did it occur to you at any point during or after the third or fourth meeting that we weren't accomplishing anything? We're dishing out a lot of information on how we run the company, but they are not responding in kind. Is it possible we've walked into a trap? Is there a chance this is a trap? In retrospect, it's easy to see how futile it was to keep meeting with them when they clearly weren't contributing anything to the conversation. That's not much, but I'll have to accept his word for it. But that's exactly why it's absurd. It's tough to wrap one's head around. However, I will trust his word. The rest of the piece. Armstrong claims the SEC failed in its duty to create clear market rules, hence a final ruling from the court is being sought. I think we're going to have to go to court to acquire the clarity we need and to generate the case law, he added. It's a way to avoid taking accountability. In other words, it is the responsibility of the government to ensure that the market in question is both safe and able to develop. And I think they've totally dodged the blame, quoting myself. Armstrong said they have planned for a long legal battle with the SEC in the event that the complaint takes a long time to resolve. As a result, the answer is yes. In a word, yes. Another quote, if you will. We never actively seek out legal conflict, but it appears that they have done so here. We are prepared to go to court if that's what it takes to acquire the answers we need, so the quote ends there. The executive is certain that Coinbase would prevail in court if a lawsuit is filed. I'm curious to see what precise legal claims the SEC withdraws at this stage. And until I hear the other side from real lawyers, I'm going to have to reserve judgment. They might not have a legal footing, but knowing that the SEC makes up whatever they want, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. And then, Coinbase is basically going to have to spend years fighting them. But I wouldn't be surprised in the least if the SEC ends up losing and maybe even realizes it. Nonetheless, here it is, the final Armstrong remark. In my opinion, we have the support of the law, and the SEC should be required to abide by the law. A jury, in my opinion, would not sympathize with their behavior. So, we're ready for this with full force. If we go to court, it will be to win. For the record, I believe we have a very good case, and that is our intention. As a result, quote end. On to the next section. Participatory discussions under the chairmanship of the secretary. This is a very intriguing comment about XRP that has sparked a controversy. Gary Gensler, chair of the SEC. The testimony before the Financial Services Committee of the United States House of Representatives has remained a hot subject in the XRP community. Several participants are XRP advocates. Given that Gensler provided correct answers concerning the sixth most valuable cryptocurrency by market cap as stated by Crypto Basic. Earlier, Congressman Warren Davidson questioned SEC Chairman Jay Clayton about whether or not he thought XRP was a security, in light of the assertions made by securities authorities throughout the litigation. Those who have been keeping along with the Ripple versus SEC case might have assumed that Gensler would label XRP as a securities. The head of the SEC did not comment on whether or not XRP qualified as a security, though. That's exactly why we find it so intriguing. Instead, Gensler insisted that legal proceedings were still ongoing. He continued by saying that there are active discussions and litigation on the matter, quote, and listen up, quote, end quote. There you go. Discussions and legal action are now taking place. Now let's take this a step further and analyze it, because what attorney Bill Morgan has to say is quite intriguing. The article proceeds. One member of the XRP community, who goes by the handle Kev, said that Gensler's reaction concerning XRP was a slip of the tongue since the congressman had rattled him. This comment has been the biggest bone of contention in the XRP community. So, this is what Kev, a member of the XRP community, had to say. After being bombarded with questions, he seemed quite shaken up at that point, and he certainly wasn't answering any of them with a simple yes or no. A slip of the tongue, perhaps, in an effort to get to the next question quickly. The rest of the piece. During the congressional hearing, one person commented on Gensler's body language and partially agreed with Kev's opinion. When pressed on specifics, like the legality of XRP, Gensler visibly panicked in front of the audience. And I'm not making this up, you guys. In case you missed it, Gensler is visibly nervous and shaking during this whole video. It's funny to watch him struggle so much. Since I loathe this species, I find this to be incredibly satisfying. Feel free to elaborate on Gensler's physical reaction. Kev likened it to the fight or flight response, since the SEC had to go through a difficult session with the committee. Adrenaline and cortisol production is natural, as the saying goes. Anyone would be shaky in those situations, I imagine, quote end. Oh, absolutely. Indeed, he was physically trembling. The truce holds. Bill Morgan, an attorney who supports XRP, also chimed in. He compared Gensler's congressional hearing to a witness being cross-examined during a trial. That's what occurs in court when you cross-examine an uncooperative witness, as described by Bill Morgan, who wrote, quote, "A confession or the truth thus emerges. The truce holds." After Morgan's reaction, Kev speculated that Gensler's comment about XRP was the unintentional disclosure of the truth. Kev claimed that Gensler gave in to the pressure and so on. Perhaps the truth did eventually find its way out. The stress was too much, and he gave in. When that happens. This is what lawyer Bill Morgan said in response. He didn't merely make passing reference to the litigation while using the word active, which indicates ongoing negotiations. Maybe the SEC is having internal conversations about whether or not to settle with Ripple, and maybe they're just talking about it. You know, that's not a bad idea at all. So, even though we're at the home stretch of this action, at least as far as this district court is concerned, that doesn't mean a settlement can't be reached. I can't rely on that anymore. My stance on the matter is crystal clear. Long ago. There were several reasons why I, like many of you, thought this was likely. However, as time went on and I learned more about the law from people who are actually lawyers, something I am not, my perspective changed. And I'm guessing most of yours have as well if you were hoping for a settlement. Most people are probably thinking, yeah, probably not right about now. However, I do concede that the possibility exists. I'm still not convinced of its likelihood, but it does make one wonder what kinds of ongoing talks are being referred to. It's an unusual way to put it, given that we're aware of actual litigation proceeding at this very moment. As if active discussions were necessary. In other words, I think it's a perfectly reasonable question to ask. As I said at the beginning of the video, not that I'm necessarily convinced that that necessarily means it, but it's still worth noting since it's a real possibility even if the likelihood of it happening is low. But feel free to share your opinions with me. No, I don't give out financial advice. Nothing I say or write should be used to make financial decisions. That is a terrible, terrible, terrible notion. Please like and subscribe my channel. See you later, bye.